Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Malin. If you're new here, welcome. So in this video I'm going to review some of my most popular eyeshadow palettes that I own and use. So I will show you and review all the palettes and rank them from 1 to 10 when it comes to color, blendability, uniqueness, user-friendliness, and price. Okay, let's go. So the first palette that I'm going to talk about is the Anastasia Modern Renaissance palette. So here you can see the palette. You really have a lot of different shades going on. Color wise, I really love the shades in here. I think it's a really cool color story and you can really create so many different looks with just this palette. The only thing that I'm kind of missing in here are very dark brown or a black. That would be so nice. I feel like some of the darker shade in this palette, like the darker here and also these and the purple, are a bit harder to blend out, but all in all this palette is very good and it blends really nicely. You just have to work a little harder with the darker shades. And of course with Anastasia you have the problem with the fallout. At least some people think it's a problem. I don't really mind, but I do kind of my more dramatic eyeshadow looks before my skin makeup, so that isn't really a problem for me. But if you like to do your face first, then that might be a problem. I think it's really cool that they kind of mix the very neutral, more regular shades with the red and pink and purple and orange, and that kind of gives it a lot more. Yeah, you can use it for so much more. You can create totally different looks and it doesn't even look like it's from the same palette. So I really feel like the kind of color story is what makes this palette unique. I really think that this palette is user-friendly. It blends really good. You have to work a little harder with the darker shades, as I said, but it's really nice. And you also have a mirror in here that is great if you're traveling or if you like to kind of use a smaller mirror to get up in the eyes. The only things that I don't like about this palette is the packaging, because it's kind of like velvety and it gets dirty as soon as you look at it. It can't be cleaned and that is really annoying. So it's that, and then you also have the fallout. I don't really mind, but I don't see it kind of as a positive. It would be nice to avoid that. And price wise with this one, you have 14 shades and this retails for $42 US. So that equals $3 per shade, and I don't think that that is really bad to be Anastasia. And it is really user-friendly, it blends good, so I think that is a really nice price point for what you're getting. So all in all, it's a really beautiful palette and I think that I actually would buy it again when I kind of run out of the reds and the pinks. The other shades I probably have dupes for already, but it's kind of this section of the palette that I would buy it for. But yeah, I really recommend this if this is kind of your color vibe. It's really nice. So the next palette I'm going to talk about is the Kylie Cosmetics, the bronze palette. So here you have the whole palette. It's really small. It's really cute though, and it's really good. So this palette is a really nice everyday palette. It's nothing too extraordinary, but yeah, you can create both daytime and nighttime looks with this one. You have everything from almost white to black. It's not almost black, it's black. So you can create a lot with only this palette alone. The color story is not mind-blowing. I think we have all seen these colors together. I don't think it's meant to be mind-blowing. So yeah, it's a really nice everyday palette. You have all your necessities in here and they also blend really nicely. They kind of feel not a lot, but they feel drier than, for example, the Anastasia shades. They blend really nicely, but I feel like they lose kind of some of the pigmentation when you blend it out, so you have to go in more times to kind of build up the colors. Not really anything unique about this palette, and I don't think that it's supposed to be. I think this is designed to be kind of your go-to everyday kind of palette. And this palette is also consumer friendly. It is really light and thin, so it's really nice for traveling. And this is usually what I pack when I travel because it doesn't take up much room. Also, as I said, the colors blend out really nicely. The only thing that is negative is that it doesn't have a mirror, but if you buy the new one, the new kind of packaging, it has a mirror. So I'm going to rate this kind of as if it has a mirror and that it looks like the packaging that is now, because if you're going to buy it, you won't get this version, you will get a black packaging with mirror inside. So the price for this one is $42 for 9 pans. So that equals $4.7 per shade, which I think is kinda expensive for what you're getting. I mean, the shades are nice and it's nothing wrong with it, but it's not that pigmented. Even though I love this palette, I don't know if I would buy it again, both because I think that this is kind of expensive for what it is, for what you're getting. You can't create too many different looks with this one. You're kind of locked in some shape or form, if you get me. I probably would choose another neutral palette instead of this because I'm not really that inspired when I look at it. It's great, it does its job, and it's nice kind of for everyday quick makeup when you kind of do the same thing every day, I think, at least. But if I was out of all my neutral palettes, this wouldn't be the one that I would repurchase. Now we're going to go into the Huda Beauty Rose Gold palette. So here you have the whole palette. This kind of has a similar vibe as Modern Renaissance, I think, at least. And I think it's a really nice mix of mattes and shimmers. You have some different textures. So you have 50-50 mattes and shimmers. So you can really do a lot with this. And I also think it's a really nice mix between the neutral brown tones and pinks. And you also have some more unique shades up here in the shimmers. So the blendability of this palette, I would say, is, yeah, you need to work a little harder with this one. I feel like the more neutral and lighter shades blends better, but the darker and more rich colors you have to work a little more with. The issue kind of with the blending in this one is very similar to the Kylie, that these shades are drier than, for example, Anastasia, and it will kind of fade out the color when you blend it out. So you have to kind of go in more times to build up the pigmentation. I feel like what makes this palette more unique is like the top row with the shimmers and also pinks and the red. When you have this whole row with beautiful shimmers and you also have some more special colors in the mattes, you can create so many looks. So I feel like this one is really just the same kind of as the Modern Renaissance, but here you have a lot more unique shimmers and you also have more colors, because in this one you have 18 shades. In the Anastasia Modern Renaissance you have 14. So you have 4 more shades and yeah, a lot more shimmers. Is this palette user friendly? I think yes. Feel like you have to work a little harder with these shades to make them really beautiful and pigmented. You have a lot of variety in the palette, so you can create so much with just one palette. You also have a really sturdy packaging, so this will protect your shadows, and you have a big mirror. So this one was so dirty, I'm sorry, but that is really nice for traveling. So if these shades are kind of your jam, this one is really nice and I really recommend it, and I want to get some more use out of mine. I'm going to show you the Huda Beauty next to the Modern Renaissance, so you kind of can see how they look compared to each other. I think both of these are so great. The Anastasia is really nice if you like creamier shadows that have a lot of pigment, and the Huda Beauty one is nicer if you like to kind of build up your shadows. So over to price. So as I said, in this one you get 18 eyeshadows and this retails for $65, so that equals $3.6 per shade in this one, and I don't think that is really bad. It's a bit more expensive than the Anastasia one. I don't think that that price is bad. It's pretty normal, I guess, for a little higher priced brands. So I don't know if I actually would purchase this again because I haven't used this one that much. I really want to get some more use out of it, but yeah, if I use it as much as I have, I probably will never hit pan on any of these shades, which is really sad because it's so many beautiful, gorgeous shades in this palette. Those shades that I tend to go for in this one, I probably could get those in singles or in some of Huda's smaller Obsessions palettes, so I think I rather would go for those. But I really love the concept of this palette and the colors. If this is your jam, I would really recommend this. Okay, over to the Soft Glam palette. So here you have the whole palette. I feel like this palette has a lot of the same colors as the Kylie palette that I showed you, but here you have both more transition shades, you have more shimmers, you have more deepening shades, you have more of everything. And you also have more fun colors. You have kind of these pops of pinks and purples, you have this dusty purple shade here, and you have some more like really rich gold shimmers. So I feel like this is kind of the Kylie palette but on crack, like really nice crack. Really glittery, nice crack. So here you have the Kylie palette and the Anastasia Soft Glam palette. So compared to the Kylie palette, the Anastasia palette is a lot more creamy. And I feel like it's not just a everyday palette. You can use this forever. If you kind of go for these tones, you can create a lot with this one. A lot more than the Kylie palette. You have more variety, you have more colors to choose from. Okay, I feel like now I got so excited. I really love this palette. I'm just going to say it. It's not a secret. I use it all the time. And the blendability, it's great. I don't have any problems with the mattes in this palette. Those are really creamy, really rich colors. I will say that I have more trouble using the shimmers in this palette. I feel like they can be a little harder to kind of apply evenly. You also have more fallout with this guy, just as all of the Anastasia palettes. You have more fallout, but you have a lot more pigmentation. So over to uniqueness. It's not revolutionary. So yeah, the pinks and purples makes it a little more unique, but it's not unique. You can get all of these shades in probably some palette in almost every brand, I would say. Like the Kylie palette, you have your warm everyday brown tones. But in this one, this is a little more unique than the Kylie palette. You have the purple shade here. As I said, you have the pink and the purple shimmer. And you also have a really dark red to spice things up. So you can do a lot more with this one. You have a lot more to choose from. And you can create really different looks. And this is also a really user-friendly palette. I feel like this is a perfect beginner palette. If you're just getting into eyeshadow, you have all of your neutrals and you have some more fun colors. I feel like it's also really nice for everyday or whatever. You also have a mirror in here. The packaging isn't great, it gets really dirty. The only negative side that I didn't talk about the Modern Renaissance is that I feel like the shimmers are a bit trickier to work with, but other than that, nothing, just fall out. This is also retailed the same as the Modern Renaissance for $42. That equals $3 per shade, and that, at least in my opinion, is a good price. This one I would buy again and again and again and again. Seriously, this is the best palette that I have ever used, that I ever have owned. If Anastasia decided to discontinue this one, I would probably buy 5 just to have them on hand, because this is my most used palette. If I was to recommend any of these palettes for, like, if you need something for every day, if you're not that into makeup, you like your neutrals, go for this one. This, you can't go wrong with this one. And now guys, we're going to go over to our more colorful palettes. So first, the James Charles palette from Morphe, of course. So here you have the whole palette, and in this palette you have a really great color selection. You have all of your neutrals and warm tones. Warm tones up here. You have more of your essentials in the middle in bigger pans, and you have all your gorgeous colorful shades on the bottom. So if I was going to be really picky about this, the one thing that I feel like this one misses is kind of more cool tone brown tones. But yeah, you have a lot in this palette. You have almost everything that you would ever need for any eyeshadow look, I guess. And I also feel like all in all this palette blends fairly good. Some colors blend better than others. So with this palette, it's recommended to use like a real eye primer. I don't use that. I use either just my foundation or my concealer as my base, and I do that with all of my palettes, and usually that is just fine. So I don't know if it's anything different with this one, that if I had an eye primer it would be so much better. I don't know. But either way, this one works really nicely also with just concealer or foundation as your base, but you have to work a little harder to kind of get it evenly. Also with the shimmers, I feel like they kind of don't pop on my eyes like I want them to. I don't know if that would happen if I had an eye primer or not, but I would say this is great. And for uniqueness, I think this palette is really unique. It was even more unique when it first came out. I feel like now more brands have come out with the same types of palettes and also more colorful ones. But yeah, I would say it's a really unique palette in the sense that you get a lot of neutral everyday colors mixed in with all like the rainbow colors. So in this one you have basically everything that you could ever want, and you also have a white and a black one so that you can lighten and darken the shades kind of to your liking. And for user friendliness, I would say both yes and no. I feel like the shades in itself are very user friendly. You have everything you need in one palette, and I feel like that is really rare. But the factors that make this palette less user-friendly is that it is huge. It's huge. It's fairly thin though, but it takes up a lot of space. It's kind of hard to kind of work with in your hands, for me at least. I'm really clumsy, but you might be as well, I don't know. And another negative thing is that there you see. It doesn't have a mirror. Of course, that can be both negative and positive. If this was to contain a mirror, first of all, would you use it in this big palette? And second of all, it would make the palette way more expensive. It's expensive with mirrors and luxury like that. But I would want kind of more sturdy packaging. I feel like this one is really thin and I don't feel like this protects my shadows that well. Over to price. Of course, 10 out of 10. You have 39 shades in this one for $39. So these shades are $1 each. I don't think that you can beat that really with this quality. The only negative thing that I would just like to mention is that if you don't have an eye primer and you want the palette to work its best, you need to kind of add $10 to $20, I think, in addition to kind of get the full experience. But if you already have that, it's a really nice buy. You can't go wrong with that. I mean, $1 for one eyeshadow, and the pants are actually kind of big. Would I buy it again? I don't know. If I were to buy it again, it would be for the more colorful shadows, and I feel like that is kind of wasteful and that I should rather buy another colorful palette that just have colorful looks, because I don't think that I will hit pan on any of these, because I kind of have my favorites in this one, at least with the neutrals. So yeah, I just feel like that would be wasteful, and that I would like to kind of buy another Morphe palette with just the bright colors, or I could buy the new mini version of this one. I think it's probably half the size, and you have all the shades still in it and with a mirror. So that one would also be really nice for those of you that would want this palette but you wouldn't want to pay that price. You want to test it out, you want to use it for travel. And then the last palette, the Urban Decay Born to Run. So here you have the whole palette. The colors in this palette is just beautiful. You have everything you need for more neutral looks, for a smoky eye, and you also have some more colorful shades to kind of amp up your looks and be more creative. And I feel like this is kind of a more mature version of the James Charles palette. The colors in this one is more jewel tone, and they are just more sultry and sexy and elegant. And you have a lot of variety also in this one. So for blending, I feel like it's kind of like the Huda one. It blends, you have to work a little harder with it, but it blends, and you also would want to kind of build up the colors more. They aren't as pigmented when they are blended out, so you would want to go in more times to build up the color. And the lighter shades and the more neutral shades are blending more easily than the brighter and darker shades. But the pigment in this one are gorgeous. They are just really beautiful, and they are really easy to apply and to get evenly, so that is really nice. I would also say that this palette is more unique, and that is because this is a more colorful palette. You have so much variety in here, but the brighter colors or the more fun colors are a bit more elegant than in most palettes, and they have kind of made their own touch to every color. It's not just like a regular orange, it's more of a burnt tone orange, a more dusty purple. You have your jewel tone shimmers. This palette is also really user-friendly. You have a lot of shades to pick from. You can create the easiest natural eye, and you can create the most dramatic, smoky, colorful eye. You can create so much with this one palette, and the packaging is really sturdy, and it feels like it will do a great job of protecting all your shadows. And you have a huge mirror in here that is dirty as hell. Urban Decay made this to be like the perfect travel palette, and I think they have really succeeded. The only thing that is kind of negative is that you have to build up the colors a lot to kind of get them to look like they do in the pan, and also the packaging is really heavy. At least for me, it's hard to kind of hold this up to do my eyeshadow because my arm gets so tired. But yeah, again, it's great for protecting your eyeshadows. So, and in this palette you have 21 eyeshadows, and this retails for $49. So that equals $2.3 per shade, which I think is a really nice price to be Urban Decay. So these shades are actually cheaper than the Anastasia palettes. You have a much better packaging, which is more sturdy, will continue to be pretty, it will not be dirty, you can just clean it off, and you also have a much bigger mirror. I think that it's kind of worth it, even though you have to build up the colors. It's a great price. It's one of the most beautiful palettes out there. I would totally buy this palette again if I hit pan on it, and that is because it's perfect for traveling. It's, as I've said 1,000 times now, it's really sturdy. It will protect your shadows. You have a big mirror. You have a lot of shades to create so many different looks, and it doesn't take up too much space in your suitcase. So I would totally buy this again. So I will put up here now kind of the list of all the palettes that I've been talking about and kind of the ranking, so you can kind of compare it to each other, because this is a long video and you probably have forgotten the first palette that I talked about. Yeah. If I'm going to kind of just recommend two palettes to you, it would be these two. These are the ones that I would totally buy again and again and again. Those are perfect, like seriously. So guys, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want that, and also leave your all-time favorite palettes in the comment section so we all can just share some really nice eyeshadow palettes. Okay guys, I'll see you in my next video. Bye!